Up first is going to be Rick Landenberger, and he's going to talk about America View and West Virginia View and a few other programs that he's involved with.
Thanks, Kevin. I've got some slides, but while those are being loaded, I'll introduce myself. As Kevin said, I'm Rick Landenberger. I'm the executive director of a nonprofit 501c3 called America View. America View is partnered with the U.S. Geological Survey, specifically with the Land Remote Sensing Program at WVGIS. We used to have a geography directorate. It's now called Climate and Land Use Change. And land remote sensing is in the Climate and Land Use Change program at USGS. So America View has been around since 2003, and we are a consortium, essentially, of state-based consortia who partner with organizations like yourselves at the state level to raise awareness about the value of remote sensing technology and address specific state-specific questions that remote sensing can help to address at the state level. So what I'll do is just give you a very quick overview of some of the K-12 projects that we have at the so-called national level, and then I'll talk more specifically about what's going on at West Virginia View. Okay, so the map shows the blue states. They're the funded states. There are 39 states in America View right now, 31 of which get an annual grant. It's a very small grant, but the PIs on those grants identify a set of projects that can be either education projects, applied research projects, or data archive and distribution projects. The education realm spans from K-12 all the way up through graduate education, because the PIs are remote sensing scientists primarily at land-grant institutions. So they are the folks like Tim Warner here at WVU who teach remote sensing. But they also cooperate with their state departments of education at the K-12 level, and they support teachers through professional development projects of various types, one of which is called Satellites. Satellites stands for Students and Teachers Exploring Local Landscapes to Interpret the Earth from Space. And it's a project in cooperation with GLOBE. Yes, it's one of those acronyms that actually works. Students and Teachers Exploring Local Landscapes to Interpret the Earth from Space. And it's essentially what they do in satellites. GLOBE has what's called the surface temperature protocol, whereby teachers are trained to measure surface temperature using a IRT, an infrared thermometer, and they measured local land cover around their school, and they link those surface temperature measurements to a Landsat thermal scene. And they identify various patterns of surface temperature locally and in the Landsat scene, and they develop a research project that they can use their specific student-generated data to answer. And satellites has been going on now since about 1999, so it's 12, 13 years into its evolutionary development, and it's really come a long way. In the last 2 years, in fact, several teachers, one of which came from West Virginia, Rick Sharp, has gone to the White House. Oops. There's Rick Sharp right there. He's at Huntington High School, and he went to the White House Science Fair last year and met the president and met the director of EPA, et cetera, other people that were at that STEM science fair, and got a lot of recognition, not only for geospatial science and technology, but for some of the STEM programs that are going on here in the state of West Virginia. So that was kind of a big coup for American View and satellites in particular, and the students who did the actual research project that was recognized by the science development team at the White House. So that's satellites in a nutshell. It's a professional development experience that lasts about a week for the teachers. They're trained in various states. This was a training project that we had several years ago here at WVU. So we have a cohort, like I said, of teachers here in West Virginia who are doing satellites. The other America View project, K-12 Science, Technology, Engineering, Math project that America View sponsors is called Earth Observation Day. Now, Earth Observation Day is not a professional development experience like satellites. It's more of outreach event whereby America View posts various lessons and activities on the website, and the State View PIs partner with their local and state educators and provide the resources necessary for students and teachers to do a smaller project, not like satellites where it involves a week of study and a big research project, but typically it's a daily event where the students go out and look at land cover using, again, a Landsat scene. This is a map of Morgantown in terms of developed areas. And they just look at the spatial patterns involved and learn a little bit about Google Earth and Arc Explorer online. So very simple, easily accessible tools that are available to most K-12 educators. So that's Satellites and Earth Observation Day in a nutshell. What I'll talk about now is what's going on specifically in West Virginia through the West Virginia View website. Actually, I can access it from here. And I'll show you the data archive that Tim Warner has developed. And it's very useful for teachers to teach about remote sensing, GIS, and GPS here in the state of West Virginia. So if you go to the data page, you click on county maps. There's a clickable state map here. It's got all the counties. Students and teachers can download these JPEGs and then develop a lesson on physical geography or on ecosystems or on hydrology, looking at the local patterns in their county. Counties are typically the spatial framework of choice here in West Virginia. I'm not a native, but one of the first questions I get is, where are you from in West Virginia? What county are you from in West Virginia? So people relate to counties here. So Tim has developed this nice data set for teachers to use at the county level. Another project that Tim and I and one of our colleagues, Jim Rye, up in the Human Resources and Development College, is called Don't Guess, Development of Knowledgeable Teachers, Geospatial Understanding and Earth System Science. And it's a two graduate course sequence, whereby the teachers are trained in the science content during the first course, and that takes place here at WVU, where they get basic background in hydrology and remote sensing, GPS and GIS, and they take that learning that they've developed here and then they develop a 2-week project-based learning unit where the students in their classrooms gather local data and do a research project. And the spatial framework, the thematic framework within which that exists is looking at local land cover and asking the question, does land cover influence the local hydrology? Specifically the runoff, not water quality so much, but more water quantity. And as you know, there's a lot of change going on in many of the birds around Morgantown and throughout the state, across the country indeed. And one of the patterns that we see is a sprawl development whereby either agricultural land or forest land is converted into some kind of development, and that has ramifications on the local runoff. So the students look at what's going on in the local landscape and they link it to runoff at the local stream level, and they learn how to measure discharge and other factors. So those are some of the first of all national projects that we've got going on, and specifically what's going on here in West Virginia. But I also wanted to point out that there's a national effort right now to re-examine and in fact redo the national science standards, and those standards will be flown publicly tomorrow. So if you're interested in commenting on the next generation of science standards, they will be out tomorrow, and there's a website that you can go to and see them. And West Virginia is one of 20 states that was involved in redoing those K-12 science standards. So it's a big deal for West Virginia. I think it's a big deal for the future of STEM education in this country. Hopefully it will result in not only better test scores, but a better understanding of science at the K-12 level for folks like you, because they are the future workforce. And we all have a vested interest in, collectively, not only K-12 understanding of science, but at every level. And it really starts at K-12. So that's my 5 minutes. We'll take questions in a little bit. Pam?
Great.